Welcome back everybody, IAmAMusicNerd here. In today's video we're going to be continuing our beginner's guide series with today's genre being New Jack Swing. But before I get into it, if you enjoy the content of this channel and you like this video, hit the like button down below, hit the subscribe button down below. Thank you guys so much for the incredible support and love that you've been showing this channel, but let's keep it growing. So for those of you who aren't familiar with New Jack Swing, it was a popular genre of black music in the late 80s and early 90s, combining elements of R&B, funk, house, even hip-hop. It was a genre that usually you see the album covers and they're all dressed up in bright colors and sleek suits. New Jack Swing movement was huge at that time, and you still see traces of elements to this day. I mean, if you ever listen to Bruno Mars' 24 Karat Magic, he definitely brought that genre back into the mainstream. So the first album I'm going to be talking about is Janet Jackson's Control. It came out in 1986. Janet Jackson, had some minor success. She was an actor on Good Times. Tried to get her music career going with her first two albums, and it really didn't do well commercially. Her father was really in charge of her career, but Control was really when Janet took control, no pun intended, and she's never looked back since. Control was the album that basically started an incredible winning streak for Janet Jackson. To me, this is really Janet Jackson's debut album, although it was her third album. So many hits off of this album alone. Nasty, Title Track, What Have You Done For Me Lately, The Pleasure Principle. I mean, Jesus, this is like a greatest hits album. The smartest thing she could have done is hook up with these two up-and-coming genius producers, which will go on to be known as Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. These guys came out of Minnesota, and I think they were high school classmates with Prince. These guys basically created the Minnesota funk sound that would dominate radio in the late 80s and 90s. On Control, this is really when they were put on the map, because 86, 87, everybody was just listening to Janet Jackson. A lot of this album was Janet Jackson asserting her independence, asserting her femininity, which would be a recurring theme in her later work. Yes, Control does sound very dated at times. The hit singles still come through strong, and it's really when Janet Jackson came into her own. Great combination of R&B, funk, and dance music. If you're at like a old school barbecue and you hear Janet Jackson, like, these are the songs that they're going to be playing. Control still has bangers to this day. Check it out. Okay, the next album we're going to be talking about is Keith Sweat's Make It Last Forever. Now, I'm more familiar with Keith Sweat's late 90s work. It was more smoother kind of R&B sound, and songs like Nobody and Twisted. But all the way back in 88, 89, Keith Sweat came onto the scene. He worked with Teddy Riley. Teddy Riley would pretty much be the architect of New Jack Swing. He would work with many artists of this genre. A lot of people consider it his best work to date. He came out with I Want Her, which is considered generally to be the first New Jack Swing song to have major success, because it combined what that genre did so well, which is it's gonna make you dance, smooth R&B vocals, some funk elements, some house elements, and Keith Sweat with his cool swaggy demeanor, really makes these songs shine through. Him and Teddy Riley made a great combination. It was rumored that the song Just Got Paid was going to be covered by Keith Sweat, but he passed on it, and it later went on to Johnny Kemp, and that became a success for him. And Just Got Paid is another classic 80s New Jack Swing song, but I don't think Keith felt that it fit him. Great album, really put New Jack Swing on the map. Janet Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation, 1814. In my opinion, probably one of her best albums. Velvet Rope and this album kind of go back and forth, but I personally prefer Rhythm Nation. And yeah, just taking what Control did a couple years earlier and just maximizing everything. Social commentary, political commentary, funk grooves, even covering other genres, doing house music, rock music, metal music to an extent. Janet Jackson basically firing on all cylinders, and this really established her. Control was Janet Jackson, the superstar. Rhythm Nation was like Janet Jackson, the megastar. Really, this album and her Rhythm Nation tour made her probably the biggest pop artist in the world, even bigger than her brother Michael Jackson. She said that, she watched a lot of CNN at the time, and she was really inspired by, what the Black Panthers were doing in the 60s and 70s, and you saw that image playing through in that Rhythm Nation music video, that iconic music video, singing why she's not like Whitney Houston, she's no Mariah Carey, but she plays to her strengths. She became a better writer. This album was the biggest album of that year. She's the only artist to have 3 number 1 singles off of the same album in 3 consecutive calendar years. Some great songs here, like I said. Rhythm Nation, Miss You Much, Alright, Black Cat. Yeah, just a stellar album. Probably Janet's best. Okay, next album we're talking about is Bobby Brown's Don't Be Cruel, which came out in '88. And yeah, look at the album cover. I mean, this is typical. It looks like a fucking GQ model cover. Bobby Brown, I know a lot of people nowadays they think of him as, Whitney Houston's ex-husband, but Bobby Brown for a time was the biggest R&B artist in the world. He initially started New Edition. He was kind of like the bad boy of the group, but he broke away from New Edition in '86. He released an album that, was okay, King of Stage, but '88, when he released Don't Be Cruel, takes a leap forward from that debut album, shows a more confident, more edgier Bobby Brown, and he was a guy that really accepted hip-hop, and he would rap in some of the songs. It's not fucking Kendrick Lamar type raps. I mean, a lot of these R&B singers that try to rap, it was very simplistic raps. He had, I think, 6 top 10 singles coming out of this. And to be honest, I listened to some of these songs, they still hold up. My Prerogative, which was a number 1 hit. Roni, Every Little Step, Rock With Ya, the title track. I mean, these are bangers that just dominated the radio, 88, 89, 90. The album was produced by Babyface and L.A. Reid. Babyface is one of those guys that started out in New Jack Swing, transformed into a more smooth R&B neo-soul producer, but this was probably one of his first big albums that showcased his production and go on to have a legendary career in music. Don't Be Cruel, solid New Jack Swing album. Check it out. So we talked about Janet Jackson, and now we're going to talk about her brother. You may know him, the king of pop, Michael Jackson. Dangerous came out in 1991. Now, this, to me, it's going to be a little controversial, but I prefer this album more than Bad. I think that Bad has some good hits, but it has not aged well at all. And to me, Dangerous shows Michael Jackson being funkier and looser. He worked with Quincy Jones on Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad, but Mike decided, it's time for a change. It's the 90s now. I gotta adapt to the times. I'm gonna lose my audience if I keep on doing the same stuff I was doing in the 80s. So he worked with Teddy Riley and ended up having the most successful New Jack Swing album of all time. Loads of bangers here. In the Closet, Remember the Time, Jam. It's a cute little song. Everybody knows it for the video of Michael Jordan. Black or White, yeah, it's corny, but It is what it is. It's Mike. You know, he's gonna do his corniness every now and then. Heal the world. Uh, Whatever. You know, take what you can get. But the songs that are great and have stood the test of time. Kind of taking more risk, being a little bit edgier, not as edgy as Janet, playing to his strengths, and I think getting back to what he did great on Off the Wall and Thrillers. You know, these were songs that showed Michael Jackson having fun, feeling in the grooves a little bit more, and I think that's what Teddy Riley was able to do for Mike. It's an album that people don't really talk about when they talk about Michael Jackson albums. I think it's very underrated. Probably is his last great album. Okay, so the last album that we're talking about is TLC's Ooooh on the TLC tip, which came out in '92. This is their debut album. Look at the album cover. Listen to that, bright colors all around. Obviously, we know TLC from their later hits, Waterfalls, Creep, No Scrubs, but you know, this was the album that put them on the map. It was a TLC that was very youthful. Left Eye even, you know, had, you know, the condoms on her glasses to promote safe sex. They had a very huge collegiate audience, sort of like Boyz II Men, and they matured on their next album. Obviously, Crazy Sexy Cool, that was a more successful album. But on the TLC tip, had a lot of hits as well. Ain't Too Proud to Beg, Hat to the Back, What About Your Friends, Baby, Baby, Baby. 3 top 10 hits on this album. And really was the group that kind of took that LaFace Atlanta record label and put that southern music on the map for R&B and hip-hop. If it wasn't for TLC, let's be honest, Outkast, the South would not be recognizable as we know it today. So we gotta give credit to TLC. When we talk about New Jack Swing and how R&B artists embrace hip-hop, well, they had a rapper. Left Eye was a rapper in the group, but T-Boz and Chili balanced it out with their smooth R&B vocals. You know, T-Boz kind of had like the lower, you know, vocals, and Chili had the smoother vocals, and I think they all balanced the other. They had great chemistry, which shows on this album. A lot of people saw them as like a younger, savvier Salt and Pepper, but they embraced R&B obviously a little bit more. You know, a lot of themes of this album concern talking about young black women, dealing with positivity, dealing with safe sex, and you know, this was an era where AIDS was in the mainstream. You know, people were talking about it. In the black community, Magic Johnson revealed that he had HIV the year before this album, so AIDS was very much in the public consciousness, and safe sex, people practicing safe sex, especially in the black community, and TLC helped with a lot of that, and so they were pushing that message, a very important message of that, into the mainstream, especially amongst young black women. Check out this album. Obviously, not as big as Crazy Sexy Cool. I think that's the album that people talk about when they talk about TLC. That is a phenomenal album. But in terms of New Jack Swing and what it offered on the TLC tip is a great album. And that is going to be my beginner's guide to New Jack Swing. Leave a comment below. What are some New Jack Swing albums that you enjoy, that you would recommend? Obviously, there are some other great ones, but I just wanted to talk about the cream of the crop. YouTube recommends these 2 other videos. I've done beginner's guide on other genres, post-punk, East Coast hip-hop, electronica. Check out those other videos as well. Anyways, till next time, peace.